gentlemen, we're back with another episode of the Rudie Librarian podcast. Kind of getting our flow going again. Recently had a fantastic episode, and we're excited today to be here with the one and only David from Big D in the Kids Table.
Yes.
How you doing?
Doing pretty good. We in New England are just experiencing our first kind of like awesome days after a long fall and winter. So everybody usually is very just extra happy, like the opposite of the airport.
So what would constitute a good day temperature wise after a long fall and winter there? I mean, and I will preface this by saying my wife is from Kingston, Massachusetts. My dad is from Taunton.
Taunton, there you go.
So I've heard a little bit of this, but people who don't have that relationship,
Dad's from Taunton, huh?
might know.
It's a historical place there.
Yeah.
That's a wicked historical place, man. Your dad must know a lot of old timers that got a lot of good stories.
Well, when I went to a Bible college after high school, and there was a guy there from New Bedford.
Yeah.
And we were talking, and I said that my dad was from Taunton, and he was like, "Oh, so you're Portuguese?" And I was like, "Yes, but also, how is that a thing?"
I don't know. I don't know that.
Like, well, if you're he's like, if you're from Taunton or you're from New Bedford, you're pretty much Portuguese. And I was like, okay, good to know
that. But so what does it mean?
Yeah.
Well, it's really just, it's a grade scale. It's like, the first day that's 40, everybody acts like it's 60. But when it actually becomes 60 and you actually get real, other than New Englanders just being champs and trying to just, enjoy some sort of warmth. The 60, 70, 80 days are rolling in randomly. We get these winds that come in. Not to talk about weather, but we come, so out of nowhere, it'll be 40, 40, 40. And then it'll be like 78. And then you just walk down the street and everybody's just like, hey, man, how's it going? It's just like, in Harry Potter, when he takes that elixir, it's like makes him super happy. He like won it by making a potion. It's like everybody in New England's on that elixir.
Yeah. I love that. They're just so happy to be not in their houses, just to be outside.
You can smell spring growing. It's a real thing. It's hop, skipping it.
I love it. We have, I think probably every place has some sort of comment about like, you don't like the weather, just wait 5 minutes, because it's probably like that everywhere. But we were in the 90s yesterday and we're 60 today, so everybody's walking around freezing. I'm in Dallas, Fort Worth area.
Oh, right. Okay. Dallas, Texas. Yeah. Is Emo's still around? They used a club called
Emo's was in Austin, and Emo's, I believe, has closed down.
Never mind. No, but could there have ever been one in Dallas? I always thought that. No, it's just me.
I don't think so.
Generalizing Texas,
up here,
right there.
Yeah. Well, the state's so huge, but up here, we've got trees, we've got the bomb factory, we've got a lot of the ska scene shows end up at Three Links or
Dallas was the first
that kind of stuff.
Was the first place I ever heard you ain't from around here, are you? You look like you're in a band. And I said, I'm in a band. I was like, wow.
That makes sense. Like, that feels very Dallas.
I was like, wow, it happened. This is wonderful.
All those old Pace Picani commercials, where they're like, this stuff's made in New York City, get a rope. That's very Dallas too. Yeah.
So you're a bass player?
We take salsa real seriously.
Is that a bass behind you?
It is, yeah. Yeah, that's the instrument I sort of can play.
No, sure. My wife figured out Gigantic the other day and sent me a video from the Pixies. I don't know if you're supposed to say from Pixies. I don't like doing that. From the Pixies. Yeah.
I have not played it as much as I should in a while. I used to play a lot more, but this is the first bass I ever played. It belonged to a friend of mine who let me take one of his bass lessons. And when he passed away, his brother let me have it.
That's nice. And sad.
So it's a special thing for me there. I have a couple other instruments lying around that I play much worse than I play this one.
Awesome. Yeah.
So, but yeah. So, are you actually in? Okay, as someone who's not from the New England area, Although I do have, like I said, family there. I find that probably, and you probably get this too, everyone just says you're from Boston.
Yeah.
Is that accurate? Not accurate?
Okay, so the question is like, okay, so I mean, I've been around for so fucking long that rent used to be like $100 to $250 to $350 to $500 to $1,000, and then you have to move out of Boston. So like, most of my productive years, and I think your productive years are, I think they call it like, I don't know, somewhere between like, like 17 to like 28 or whatever, 27, like when you're like really Indiana Jonesing life. Yeah, I was in Boston or Alston, but like all of us, we got pushed out. I mean, it's just, it's like CBGBs in New York and the Rat. Like it. So the definition can change, but most of my productive years, and a bunch of the bands still live in the general area, was there. But you can't harm the artist because of big business. Because
Well, so
like literally no, like everybody
I
tries it on. Where like I think a Wilhelm scream is probably the only people. I mean, I have to ask Nuno and everybody, but like, where are you from? New Bedford. Where's New Bedford? Like, it makes a conversation go way longer than you may want. You got some drunkard who's like, "You in a band? Where you from?" In New Bedford. "Oh, I know someone from Gloucester," and you're like, "Fuck, this is gonna take too long." So you just say like, I'm from here," and you don't have to like go on about his cousin.
So the answer, Boston, is just to prevent yourself from having to have an hour-long conversation with someone.
Over that, not really. No, I would not summarize that what I said. You know what I mean? Like I mean, we've lived in Boston most of our productive band years, and we rehearse there, and we shoot music videos there. But the 1%, man, you can't come down on the poor people because you get pushed out of the city. I mean, sorry, I ain't rich.
Right,
Sorry,
right.
I'm not rich. I would live in Boston if I was richer. Yes, you've nailed it.
Well, and I think kind of the way I'm trying to say this, and maybe not explaining it very well, but is that like my wife never tells people she's from Kingston, which is where she's actually lived most of her life. And now she's got family now in East Bridgewater,
Yes.
And that's where she goes when she goes home. But she just tells people Boston.
Yeah,
because it's just easier. And but I was thinking that I had seen somewhere that you were actually living kind of on the New Hampshire edge of the border. Is that accurate? Not
so
accurate?
I live near Lowell, where the industrial near Lowell, where the industrial revolution, and like I live in a place where like if you buy Doritos, you're in Massachusetts, but if you go to my house, you're in New Hampshire. I live right on the line. Yeah. Live free to live, die, no taxes.
the whole the thing that you started talking about like naming your actual city. Do you ever see the Seth Meyers sketch where he did like Boston the movie?
Shit, I would say that I probably have because I see most of his stuff, but it's not hitting me.
He did this one where he was like, "It's the most Boston movie you've ever seen." And there's a part where it's like a undercover cop talking to like his informant, and he's like, "All right, we got to meet. Where do you want to meet?" And he's like, "How about Quincy?" No, how about East Bridgewater? No. And it goes, this goes on for 25 minutes.
I think I've seen
just naming town.
I mean, we are a lovely bunch of motherfuckers, and I think we're the best. I think a cliche or a well-known Boston thing that used to always be kind of a joke, but I think is poignant now, is that they've done on SNL, and they've done, which is they say it, "You think you're better than me." They say that. They say it as a question. They say it as a question. You think that you're better than me, right? But I really find like the whole world is slowly, and some people are putting hands over their ears, of the fact that the 1% owns everything, and being in a band, I noticed that you start looking around, and it is quite a lot of fortunate people that are the ones in the bands, and you start realizing in America that it's kind of American princesses and princes that usually get to be the actors or the people in high, jobs or musicians. And, it's the fortunate, the connected, or the rich. And so I think the old silly Boston, you think you're better than me, which isn't the term. The term is you're not better than me. That's the actual term. I don't know why they switch it for media. The term is you're not better than me.
Okay.
You're just born in luxury. So I really feel like that Boston term is coming back, and people may laugh at it less and kind of take it as a yeah, you're right.
Well, that actually kind of makes me think something that I wanted to bring up with you. I was watching an interview with a Nashville band that has a Boston connection, which is Winona Fighter.
I know that band name.
And
I know that band name separately. Yeah, just going. That was a funny.
Yeah, Winona Fighter, and their lead singer Coco came from the Boston punk scene, and
Coco.
She's talked quite a bit
How
about
old is Coco.
Yeah, I do not know the answer to that. Let's see if I can Google it real quick. That's not her legal name.
No, it is.
Let's see.
She comes from the Puff family. She's well connected. Well, see, there I go again. When you come from the Puff family with a cool name like that, all of us are done for.
Doing research on the spot. Coco Kinnan, but I think her real name is Cosette or something like that.
Probably a huge lie.
Yeah, but she came from being in Boston punk bands, and she was a drummer, and then she moved to Nashville, and she was like, "There's no punk scene here," and so she tried to kind of like start a band, and she ended up starting one. I think it kind of came from like Craigslist connections and stuff like that.
What is that sentence?
But she
started a band from Craigslist connections.
Like I think that maybe there was an ad on Craigslist.
Yeah,
I've watched some interviews, but it's been a while.
I didn't know that. Yep.
And my brain is my brain is only functioning at the percentage.
No, but I want to use that
right
one
now,
day. Like,
great.
Yo, man, I just got a fucking tour with the Gorillas. How'd you fucking do that? Oh, Craigslist connections.
Yeah. They'll be like, that's either amazing or you should not go on this tour. They're gonna kill you.
Yeah.
They're serial killers.
Yeah.
But she was talking about the DIY ethic and the Boston punk scene and how great the Boston punk scene is. And I'll say, as someone who visits and doesn't live there, I was unaware of this great Boston punk scene, other than a couple of bands that I was aware. A couple of the more well-known bands. But you guys are kind of in that DIY punk ska scene of Boston, and that's where you guys have made it. So I was wanting to hear from you, like, to wax eloquently about the greatness of this scene and what's how it's been in that scene for as long as you've been there and what it's like now.
Yeah, well, I really don't necessarily I started with the Boston hardcore scene, so I can't really speak about the Boston punk scene. I know about hardcore, and I know about ska, and I know about like indie and mod. But you got to ask yourself what we're defining punk as, and because I respect punk, so you got to I just don't want to come off like so is it like a Wilhelm Scream is not, I don't think they're punk, they're kind of like thrash. So like when we say punk, it's a very it's such a potent word. I wouldn't say I necessarily know. I know about hardcore, ska, indie, mod, stuff like that. But the DIY ethic is, nobody's going to work harder than you than you. I mean, and everybody in Boston knows that. I mean, everybody knows that already. Do you know what I mean? And it's one of those things where it's like, think about it like this. Let's, like military people have their sergeants or generals, not generals, but like their sergeants yelling in their ear, like, get up, you can do it. Come on, get up, you can do it. And, sports people, they have like Olympics and just regular sports. They have their coaches that are like, you can fucking do this. I know you can. But musicians, nobody's in their ear. And especially in New England and Boston, you got the opposite in your ear. Like, you fucking no one. We knew you were a piece of shit. You have the opposite in your ear. You have the like, you had such potential, and then you went and did this and went, So I think our DIY ethic is just saying no, and we try to champion ourselves with having that voice in our head going, you can do it, man. You can have what they have. You can do it. You're someone. Even though all the other words are spinning around like a beehive in your head, So.
Do you feel like the scene is segmented into kind of those, because you kind of talked about hardcore, ska, indie, do you feel like it's kind of separated into those scenes? Like for me growing up, a lot of the shows I went to were all kind of mixed bill shows. So, and I'll say like one of the things that I struggle with now, I'm 44, and I think that I've kind of like gone through phases where I've been kind of disconnected from the scene and stuff like that.
Life.
But like I have a hard time sometimes with differentiating all the genres of music. I'm just like, I don't know. I like that band.
Do it like that.
Are they hard rock? Are they hardcore? Are they thrash, metal, punk? What kind of punk are they? Is there a difference between skate and pop punk and whatever? I just like it, and it's punk-ish, And I think that with ska, we have a lot of ska that kind of fits in with the punk, and then we have ska that kind of is more on the dub. Your band, I've been listening to a lot of you the last few days, just kind of getting ready to interview. And one of the things I've really loved is you guys are all over the place stylistically. You kind of touch everything. But do you feel like that scene there in Boston is kind of separated into these different scenes, or is it kind of all mixed together? A lot of mixed bill shows. What's it like for you guys?
Obviously, like the '90s was the best time of mixed bill shows. You'd have like Primus and Rage Against the Machine on the same show. The only reason why I'm in ska really is because I went to hardcore shows, like I was saying, and the Mighty Mighty Bosstones was allowed to be on that gig, and I was like, what is this? What is going on here? And I was listening to their music, and their music reminded me of Mr. Bungle, and I was like, wow, I've never seen another band kind of sound like Mr. Bungle before, and I'm still in the hardcore, one could say thrash metal scene, and then there's the ska band. So yeah, definitely that. But definitely. So yes, I see people are promoters. I mean, I don't want to put anybody down because I don't care. I do wish that people had a funk band play with a heavy band play with it, and everyone was just cool. I'll be a little bit long-winded because whenever we play festivals, all those bands are hanging out anyway. Do you know what I mean? They're all hanging out with each other anyway. You know what I mean? All the metal bands aren't hanging out with the metal bands. Like all the genre. Like if the fans could see the bands hang out, maybe they could Elsa it, and that means let it go, let it go. And in Americans, we really hold. What I've found out in my 31 years is like we really hold on to almost more what we don't listen to than what we do listen to. It's like, I don't listen to this. That's more your character than what you do listen to. But then you see like a lot around the world, like everyone just is open to any genre. You don't have to necessarily choose. It's just music. It's just music. I know it's powerful. But what's great about Boston is it is a small city. And so we only have a couple rocker bars, like proper ones. One's the Model and in Allston, and that's where all the bands go. So when we're all coming up and we're all doing things in the underground, the pop band and the mod band and the ska band and the hardcore band are all laughing and having, whatever, I already told you what I thought about Billings, but in the bars, in the social scene in Boston, all genres kind of rub elbows because it's a small city. So it's kind of like that TV show Letterkenny, where like it's a Letterkenny from Canada. It's like a TV show about a small city, but even though all the people that's their crew, like their group of friends, are all different, but they all celebrate each other.
And I have to say, in regards to the small city aspect of Boston, like I had obviously visited Boston a fair amount growing up, and then met my wife and had been going for a while. We went on a vacation to New York City together at one point, and it was nice. And there's not trying to talk bad about New York at all, but one thing I realized when I was in New York is how much more I love Boston. And a big part of it, I think, was that kind of smaller city vibe. One thing was just not so crowded. That was a big part. But I just realized how beautiful I thought Boston was and how underrated I think it is.
And I have no diss to New York. The only reason why I never moved to New York in general was a couple of reasons. One, I can't afford it, and I didn't want to live a life where you pay. I mean, I've been a waiter and a bartender my whole life. I know the numbers. I can't make that rent, and I'm not. And as an artist and someone who wants to do music, I definitely feel like you should live in a shack or live with your parents. Anybody out there, like, live with your parents and write songs for a while and do what you can. Like, I wasn't gonna spend my time just working for some person that I don't even know so I can pay for some room that I don't even spend time in. So I kind of, it's kind of normal speak now, but I could see it happening from like, 90, 95, 6, 7, 8 to, the 2000s that like, I just don't want to, I don't want to spend my time alive doing that stuff. You know what I mean? Like, even though it's exciting, I'll visit. Like, would I live there? Yeah. Would I have a penthouse in the tallest building in New York City? Yeah, sure. Yeah, sure. I would live there, but it's not really in the cards. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah. One of the things you talked about a minute ago too, about kind of that in Boston, being a musician, having that other voice basically telling you like, what are you doing? Like, what's wrong with you? Trying to make it and stuff like that. One of the things I've noticed is I've kind of watched interviews with you and just listened to what I could, about you. Is you seem to be somebody who is very much the opposite with people in your life. You seem to be someone that's good at hyping up the people that you care about, talking them up, talking about how great they are. I stumbled across a Reddit article where someone was asking about former, I think, background vocalist from the band, and you had waxed eloquent on that Reddit article about how wonderful this person was.
Yeah. An old vocalist,
do you think that the Boston scene?
I'm just so curious. Who was I talking about?
I believe it was
like Mark Flynn. Mark's great. Yeah. Sorry, I don't know. Yeah, sorry. I got curious. Sorry. Yeah.
No, you're good. Yeah. But I just loved kind of, and I was skimming obviously because I'm, I was technically at work. But I just love seeing you talk so kindly about these people that are in your life. And do you feel like that's your sort of attempt to push back on that voice that you hear all the time telling you, what are you doing?
I don't really do anything intentional because like what you see is just my mom. Like what you see in me is just my mom. So, you know what I mean? Like I'm just being my mom. There's no intention in it. It's just how it's brought up. And I just, I mean, I'm not one for gossip. I'm not a very easy person to hang out with in this sense where I don't like putting people down. I don't like sitting in a group of people and putting somebody down. I didn't catch on to sports. I just don't like the fact that they're actually not from the place that they say they're from. Like if the Red Sox were from the area, then I think it would be so cool. Do you know what I mean? Like, yo, my friend's from Beverly's on third base. This shit is off the hook. We're going against New York. This shit's gonna be awesome. But it's not like that. It's big business and it's stupid. For me, I can't connect. So like, no, I just kind of see things. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like, also, I'm gonna go on tangents. It's kind of like Star Wars, like in everything. It's like evil and being bad is so easy. And you know what I mean? It's like, I don't understand why people aren't saying the obvious stuff and like backing people up. I don't know what you read, so I guess I backed somebody up. So like, yeah.
I can tell you, I looked up the post that I was talking to you about so that I could talk more specifically to it. But it was a Reddit post about your connection, Big D and the Kids Tables and the Doped Up Dollies, and it was about the song "Girls Against Drunk Bitches" and loving the vocalist on that, and
Mariam.
you come in and say your taste is impeccable. I met Miriam at Berkeley College, and then you give this wonderful history of Miriam and how great she is.
Think of it like this, ready? Okay, first thing, everybody in their scene needs to know there aren't a certain amount of seats on the bus to success. Do you know what I mean? Like your local bands, and nobody's competition. And once you start, like, you can be envious of someone and go, gosh, I wish I was doing what they were doing. But you don't want to dip into jealousy. Do you know what I mean? Because it has nothing to do with, like, just, so I went to Berkeley, where I was lucky enough to, 17, 18, 19, 20, be around people that are studying high life music, Afro-Cuban music, Latin music, like all my immediate friends. Remember, I'm ska, so I'm the ska representative. I'm kicking ass in my represent. I'm the hardcore ska guy, so I'm like, what do I mean? But I'm just saying, I'm making jokes, but I'm just saying, like, xylophone. I'm best friends with xylophonists who want to do it for jazz. Berklee College of Music has so many different genres that you are celebrating each other. Do you know what I mean? Like, my friend is playing in Nine Inch Nails. I'm gonna drop some names because, like you're saying, my friend Stu's playing in Nine Inch Nails right now. My friend Rich played with Lauryn Hill and, like, Paul Simon stuff. One of my friends became the president of Capitol Records. I used to sell carpets with him. Do you know what I mean? One Tony played in the Distillers. Like these are just the people that are in my classroom going, like, do you want to get a slice of pizza after class or not? Do you know what I mean? Like, so yeah, I mean, guys, it's like, we really need to champion each other to a hardcore place. You know what I mean? And that whole, like, join it.
Yeah. Well, and what I love about that is I feel like that's a big part of who I am as a person as well. And like, in all areas of my life, I'm like, I want to hype up the people around me. I want them to know how great I think they are. I want them to question. Yeah. I want them to know me well enough that they don't have to question, but I want to be so consistent with talking about how great they are, both to them and about them to other people, that they're like, is this guy for real? Like,
I mean, it's not crack happy. It's practical to me. Do you know what I mean? It is practical, but musicians need to know that they're, even though they're in different superhero groups like the comics, that X Factor and X-Men and Excalibur don't need to battle. They're all on the same team. You know what I mean?
I feel like the number of nerdy references you've made in the 25 minutes we've been talking is quite exceptional.
Thank you very much.
So did you grow up? Did you grow up also like a comic book nerd, literary nerd, kind of
comic book nerd? Yeah. I mean, I think people think I have this outgoing personality, or like this kind of forward personality, but that's probably because, I was just, the classic 80s, like what they're talking about. Remember the first episode of Stranger Things when they're all playing D&D, that's, they're depicting me. No.
True to life, other than the monsters coming to kill you.
I went to music school. I mean, literally, the big joke with Big D is we started because we had limited parties that we were being invited to.
So you just had the extra time.
It was just every friend that we kind of made on our, like, floor of the dorm. We were like, and it started with me, Mark, and Steve Foote, and it was just like, do you want to jam Operation Ivy songs? And all three of us were like, that's exactly what we want to do. And then slowly, people who also weren't being asked to the prom would go, where are you guys going? And we're going to a rehearsal room to play Operation Ivy songs. And then people who don't have dates go, can I come too? And you go, yeah. And literally, that's how, like, each person of Shop by Lammy is like, can I go? And it's like, yeah, what do you play? And it's like, trumpet. We can do trumpet. Do you know what I mean? Like, like, everybody who wanted to hang out was allowed to hang out, and we found a spot. You know what I mean? And then Sean Rogan, the guitar player from most of the bands, he was just allowed to be there with a mic, and it was kind of like the Ben Carr dance thing, but we weren't doing that. We weren't even thinking it. It was just like, yeah, Sean, have a mic. And then later he didn't replace, but Jeremy, the guitar player, moved on to things, and he took over guitar as I took from drums to vocals. But like, you know what I mean? Like, it was just a place for us to have friends and have, hang out.
Is this also why, it seems like as I read about you that you have had, you can maybe speak to whether you still currently have, but have had one of the more exceptionally large horn sections of the ska bands out there.
I know for a lot of the time we had 5 because of just what I told you, limited social interactions.
Yeah.
So we had 5 for a while, and horn players should know, for Shot by Lammy, Good Luck, and Gypsy Hill and How It Goes, I believe all 5 players played in the same room at the same time. So if you messed up, there was no punching. There was the whole section had to play it over again. You could punch in, which was the record pause move, but there was still no Pro Tools. You couldn't see the audio. It was still just 2-inch tape and listening. And so, picture that, guys. So practice.
Yeah, you got to be pretty dialed in. Yeah. So I would imagine that.
And then get this,
that the live shows too.
So get this too. So when you're playing to 2-inch tape before Pro Tools and Logic, and everyone's playing at the same time because it makes a better sound and the room sounds really good and it's great to play together because it changes it. It changes it when you play together. And other than that, sometimes you forget to put a click track in, a SMPTE track in. So sometimes you just accidentally forget because you're hanging out. And you forget. And so then there's pauses in the arrangement. Bang, pause. And all 5 horns have to feel the pause because there's no click and all come in at the same time. So it's kind of like an Atari controller or a video game controller where it's faulty, but you can kind of figure out what you need to do with your left thumb to really make it move. Like, you know what I mean? Like 5 people coming in on one with no click track in a pause is something to mention these days. Yeah.
That is. And something else I feel like that makes you unique that we've sort of touched on already too is this Doped Up Dollies thing, because you have this phenomenal female background vocalist group who also are their own thing apart from you guys. And can you talk a little bit about that?
So check this out. This is so crazy. So the reason why I love the Doped Up Dollies is I am a Quentin Tarantino's movie fan. So like I love those 1950s kind of like Doped Up Dollies on a one-way ticket to blood. I made that one up, but like teenage Scarlets that don't know this is the night they kill. I just made that up, but you know what I mean? I research these things, and I love them. I love them, and they're just so great. And it's just something I'm into. And so my dad brought me up on doo-wop. That's what I grew up on. My dad, the Dixie Cups and everybody, even as fun as Sha-Na-Na. But like, I'm a doo-wop guy. My dad was doo-wop with me in 1950s, and my mom was like rebellion 1960s music. So that's kind of where I come from, and that's why it exists. You got moms kind of like, my mom's from Lynn, which it was really bad then. Really, really bad place, and she didn't have the best upbringing, and she has all this kind of music. And then my dad's from Ohio, and he's just kind of like do I'm ketchup, you know what I mean? He was a real soda jerk, and he liked doo-wop, and so that's what makes Dave. And so so with Fluent and Stroll, I wanted to bring the doo-wop in, and so we did that. And the joke was that I kept going, you guys, not gone off time. I was like, after this record, we will be your backup band, and then you could be your own band, and then we'll back you up because we're not paying them to go to the studio. There's no money. You just are saying, can you come to the studio? You know what I mean? I mean, maybe we did, but probably not. Probably bought lunch or whatever. But and then one day, Saray Richardson, who the reason why she's a Doped Up Dolly, I gotta tell you why they're all Doped Up Dollies. It's so funny. So Saray Richardson, she answered a real flyer that I did with my phone number on it. You take a tag, you take a little rip of the tag. People don't know. It's like you take a piece of paper and you cut it up like a comb of the fine parts of a comb on the bottom, and then you can take a phone number home. And she called, and so she was like a teenager then, and we've known each other, so she's been with us the whole time, and she just answered a flyer on the streets of Boston. And then Erin, who's now in the Rins, her new awesome band, she was doing like hair for a Big D video, and she said she was a singer, and we just had a Doped Up Belly like cancel, and it's like, I can't do it, I'm gonna go move somewhere, and we're like, okay, and we were like, can you do it? And she's like, fuck yeah, I can do it. And then she did it. It was like so awesome. It was like, I was like, can you sing? She's like, can I sing? You know what I mean? It's like, it's very Boston. I mean, that's how you do it right in like that's how you should do it. And in my experience, that's what I'm saying. Like to bands, like people aren't your competition. Like treat it as a slip and slide and have a real fun time together and try to grab each other's hands and slide together, you know. And then Bree's my wife, and we met on the video of We Can Live Anywhere, where we were supposed to pretend to go out, but the joke is that once we met, we just didn't stop hanging out. And so here's the thing about the Doped Up Dollies record. We knew, and musicians I know that know that one of the worst things is like when to practice. Scheduling is like the worst. And so if you're like, we play on Thursdays from 7 to 9, I really think that I really think people should question it and stop doing the late night rehearsals. I know you have to, and you should do it every once in a while, but you need that daytime stuff, like after work and after traffic and after things. It's really hard to be creative. So I knew there was no way when finally Saray and Aaron said, you always said you're going to back us up and do a record. Why don't you put your money where your mouth is? You know, I went, right. I have to do that. So then I have to put my brain into that. I was like, all right, so I'm going to do that. But there's no way we're going to do that year or so of practicing every week. That's not going to happen. So what we did is this. We got Mad Oak Studio with Benny Grotto, which is awesome in Allston, was going through some renovations. And so I said, why don't you come to my house, which is this like small shack in the woods, and then set up your mobile rig. And then we had the whole band come. And I said, don't have a song ready. Just don't have a song. Don't have a song. Have riffs. If you want riffs, or have nothing, just come. Right? And we did a whole weekend. It was a long weekend, like Monday was off or something. I'm almost done, sorry. And
no, you're great.
Okay, and so the idea was this. We got it all set up, and everybody knows setup's always the most time. You have to set it up. And get the sounds. And so that's usually the first day. And then we had all these mattresses, and they were absorbing sound on the walls like a Jack White beautiful dream. And then you put the mattresses down when you sleep, right? Proper British tour, if you will. And so, or Japan. I'm going. But my point is, so the next day, let's say it's Saturday after Friday's setup, we would talk about a song for about a half an hour. You know, let's do like a rock steady, like Chris Murray. Let's say Chris Murray was, I don't know what the language was, but, you know, you'd be like, what if, let's take like, you know, that old, like, what, you know, that 100% Dynamite record, you know, the third track, you know, you talk about a song, talk about it for a half an hour, noodle it out for about a half an hour, and then track it for about a half an hour to an hour, right? And then move on and just don't talk about it again. Let's do like a Northern Soul. Like, wait, what if the Bluebells did a Northern Soul song? Do you know what I mean? And you're like, oh, let's do that. Like, and everyone's looking around like it's supposed to be the hippie shit, you know? And then you do it. And so the reason why that record seems to have like not a lot of honest personality, because it does, is because it did. And that's what you guys, people should do out there, you know? Just do that thing where you say, I figure it out, and we're just going to take the time off. Just be relaxed when you create in this world of unrelaxedness. Yeah,
I'm deeply enjoying hearing you talk about this, and I'm going to tell you too. I feel like you're giving me like some Fred Armisen vibes the whole way through.
I love Fred Armisen,
and I love it.
It's true though. It's like I mean, if you want me to go on a tangent, I mean, like, I wish I just did, but it's like, you know, different classes have different opportunities, and like, I mean financial, I don't mean like properness, you know, I mean only economical, and you know, like people, and for the you know, for the upper class, they must have their doldrums that they have to overcome, but for everybody else, like, it's trying to figure out when you can get together. And when you're an artist, you know, it's like an East Coast artist is so pent up all the time. And that's because we're trying to like be creative in this 1 hour that we figured out we could all get together. But sometimes, in my whole point, which I'm reiterating because I'm a reiterator, and that is if these poor, East Coast kind of unfair weather places, if you can just put the time aside somehow, and really harness the talent that you already have it. I think you might write better songs and better records if you do it when you write the song right away, rather than spending the next week going, what were we doing last week? What were we doing? And the reason why you don't remember is because all your brain activity is going through traffic and your stupid job. So yeah, just box it out.
It's great advice. And I'm going to talk to you more about some other creative endeavors here at the end, but I want to get to the new album, because you got a brand new album coming out, The Good Old American Saturday Night. You got 2 tracks released for it so far, Right Now and Whiplash. Both are amazing. I had heard Right Now a few times, and I really just heard Whiplash for the first time today. I knew that there were 2 tracks, and for some reason I kept missing that second track, and I heard it today, and I had a playlist of your music playing while I was doing. I work at a school. I'm a school librarian, and I was. What did you say?
That's awesome! Congratulations!
Oh, okay.
That's an awesome job.
Most days I love the job very much, and during the summer I'm a public librarian, and a librarian, so really I do both.
Yeah. Sorry. Yep. Sorry. I just think that's really cool.
That's a job I love very much. But I had this. I'll go out in the morning. I have a morning duty at my school where I have to sit out there and block off this road till all 5 of our school buses get there.
I totally know what you're talking about. Yep. I do it every morning.
And I'm blocking off these buses.
I don't do it, but I'm the guy in the car.
Yeah, yeah.
I drop my. Yeah.
Oh,
sorry.
nice.
I'm sorry. I keep interrupting you because I didn't know you were a librarian. It's just awesome. I'll shut up. Sorry.
Yeah. So I've got this earbud in, and I've got an earbud in one ear. Usually while I'm doing that, I'm listening to music. I'm listening to your playlist. And when that song Whiplash hit, I was like, oh, it gave me whiplash a little, I guess. That was the effect. And I was like, this is great. I mean, I really enjoyed Right Now as well. But today, hearing Whiplash for the first time, it really, really captured my attention. So tell me a little bit about the album. Why Good Old American Saturday Night? What's the vibe? What you going for?
I'll go back to the title after, but what's cool about Whiplash, which I'll start with, is Whiplash was a song that we really loved playing on our last record. And Do Your Art, we were playing, there's like 2 or 3 songs that are actually, we were jamming during that time. And when I talk about a record, when we do a record, we look at it like I was saying earlier today, like a menu. Like if you're writing a French cuisine, and you know what the record is supposed to be, and you know what the vibe is supposed to be, and we know what we're doing, and someone brings like a lasagna, like a really good song, like Whiplash, you're like, shit. Well, this is a really good song, but we kind of already know what this movie is about. Do you know what I mean? And so we did this hilarious thing during Do Your Art where we were like, Ben. The whole band was like, Ben, we love this song. It is going to be left off of Do Your Art, but we promise you it'll be part of the next record. And then when we got together for the next record, it was The Champion, and we stuck to our word, and we're like, this whole fucking cart is being led by this song. We knew it, and it was a better spot for the song, and it was leading the charge, and we love Whiplash. So yeah, Whiplash was just like a good old boy for us. Just like we love that fucking song. And so the Good Old American Saturday Night, I mean, as far as like the troubling times, I won't go, like the troubling, America's, it's a crazy thing going on right now. It's very unfortunate, and I won't do any specifics, but everything could be much better. And
that's a great way to put it.
I mean, it's ridiculous. It could be so much happier and much better. And so I have written political songs in the past. I love them. It's Raining Zombies on Wall Street, Try Out Your Voice, Hell on Earth, Brains a Bomb, Static. So now when it comes to this time, we kind of, it didn't work. You know, I mean, nothing changed what I was doing. So I wanted to change my approach. And this record is definitely coming from a, you know, a more like we did with Whiplash, Love More, and what we did with Right Now, Love Yourself Right Now. We're trying to go to the soil and trying to like go, well, why don't we just try to remind the people of who they are? And you hear it in the lines. Like I get down and dirty in lines here and there, but in no way am I going to be blunt as a punky kind of band, you know, however you want to put it, could do, because I don't want that guy anywhere near what we're doing. Like, I love our band so much. I love our music so much. I don't want the stank. And, you know, he's not touching it. And, you know, there is not going to be any music about this guy. And I do make the joke that the Dropkick Murphys really do have it all under control here. They really have. And there's no reason why the Little Rascals, Little Orphan Andy, Big D, and the Kids Table Band needs to. If the public needs us to write a song about Mr. Stank, we will, but that's not our angle right now. You know what I mean? We already did it, and we already said it. You know what I mean? And so we're just figuring out a different way to help.
And I'm glad that you kind of talked about it and talked about kind of the two different perspectives of the same thing, because I do think that like there's a place for both of those things, like you said. But I think that the natural thing to do is to go negative and complain and focus on what's bad. But I think that's
easier. Yeah.
But I think that what's maybe the more helpful thing is to remember what's good and fight for what's good. You know, and you know, I'm trying to remember. There was some phrase that I'm sure I quoted it from someone else, like stole it from someone else, but it was just kind of along the lines of like, you know, shout out what you love, don't complain about what you hate. And it was phrased much more eloquently and literately than that.
Well, you know what? I can take it too, and I haven't thought about this till now, which I appreciate you triggering this, and that is, I heard this a long time ago, and okay, so it's when somebody says, you know, how you doing, right? And you say, well, I'm tired, right? If that's what you start with, and I understand, don't get me wrong, I understand. But when you start with that, the only thing the other person can think is, yeah, we're all tired, man. You know what I mean? Like, I'm assuming you already know that. You know what I mean? Like when someone's trying to be empathetic with you and being like, I know we're all existing in this. You know what I mean? What else do you have? What else do you have? And, you know, you don't want to just bring up the nothing. You know, don't bring up the nothing. So, yeah. Does that make any sense? Did I kind of go into
Yeah, it does. And I mean, I think like, you know, there's obviously like relationships too, where like if you're going through stuff, that's good for you to share with the people that you're in relationship with enough that they actually care.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
I'm just kind of saying like hoping and troubling.
90% of the people that are like, how are you? I'm sorry.
Oh, no.
I was just saying like 90% of the people who are like, how are you? If you're really going through stuff and you're like, man, you know what? I'm having a really hard time. They're going to be like, oh.
Yeah.
Sorry. But the people that are really in your life, they're the ones that'll be like, man, I'm sorry. Let's hang out. Let's talk. Or whatever. Or let me distract you from it for a while or whatever you need.
What I think is kind of really fun is I've been going through some things recently, you know, like anybody does, right? But what I find really fun about on the topic of what you just said is the ricochets, the comets, the random shooting stars that come to you where somebody from grade school hits you up and is like, hey, I just like, it's not your immediate friends. It's not your immediate family. It's these ricochets that are orbiting you that check in with you when something like, and you think your best friend would be doing something, and you think your family member would be doing something, but then there's this like person. It's just interesting. You know what I mean? Like, you never know who's thinking about you. It's just one of those, you never know out there who's like, I'm gonna get wicked hippie, ready? like a waterfall is always happening, right? And the only reason why I bring it up is because like when I can't sleep, I think of waterfalls that I visited because I know they're always happening, so I always know it's occurring then. You know what I mean? And so it's
Yeah.
like my experience at that waterfall, I already know is still happening, right? But what you don't know, which is so tragic, and that's probably the invention of the crystal ball, and what we wish we could see is there's probably someone thinking fondly of you often. You know what I mean? And we just don't know.
Yeah.
Am I going? I'm going on big tangents now.
No, but I like it, and I do think that you're bringing a lot of hope around, and that's the point, right? That's to bring back the focus to the love and the joy and the hope and the things.
And that's why ska's big again, because everything's so fucked up. You guys always come back to us when things get bad. And then when things are good, you get on planes and fly to islands that play ska, come back and go, geez, I needed that. And it's like, you can listen to this music when you're here. You don't.
Yeah. Just recently I posted something on Instagram about all the ska shows that were coming up in my own area, and it's kind of funny because we don't have a ton of DFW ska bands. There are a couple that were pretty big that are kind of not playing as much now, but we have a few, and but still, like the amount of bands that were either coming into town or local shows, I was like, man, we've got a lot going on right now, like a lot of great concerts.
I gotta tell you, the Interrupters, Kill Lincoln, the new wave or the fourth wave, if they say it, they're killing it. They're doing that like grind. They're like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm just pretty impressed. That it's Fight Me Bambi. You know what I mean? It's impressive.
And you guys are still hitting some pretty big. I feel like you guys tour pretty good amount still too.
Yeah, we're gonna starting like August and October. Like the new record's just dropping, so you sit and then you attack, and we're about to attack.
Yeah. Well, you're one of the bands I have not yet had the pleasure of seeing. I've been trying to work my way through. I've seen a lot of my the newer bands that I really love, the ones that have come here. But I've also been trying to make my way through. Part of my story is the ska that I grew up with, because I primarily grew up listening to Christian music, and so there were a handful of ska bands that were Christian.
Five Iron Frenzy.
Iron Frenzy was one of the big three for us. Five Iron Frenzy, the Supertones, and a band called the Insiders were our three big bands. But I got back into ska. I kind of drifted away. I got back into ska shortly before the Pick It Up documentary came out, and I kind of asked a couple friends, hey, what are some ska songs that you liked, and got this massive playlist that I put together from everyone's references. And I started going back and listening to these bands that were huge in the 90s, but I didn't listen to back then.
I know what you mean.
So I've been making my way through getting to see a lot of those bands as well, and I've been really enjoying them. I just saw Goldfinger and the Aquabats for the first time.
Well, I hear you, because I think there's the elephant view that happens where like you're living your life and you're like, I'm doing these bands, and you're putting a lot of time into these bands, but you have the elephant view, meaning it's too big in your face. And then I've done the same thing where once kind of like the tide pulls back, not to do too many analogies in one thing, but like you go, oh, there was a lot going on. Yeah. I mean, I do the same thing. Yeah. And I do the same thing. I've been appreciating. Oh, how about this? You like a band, but you go like this. I don't like their new stuff, right? But then the way Spotify is set up, you do like you do listen to all the records, and then you start coming around. You know what I mean? You start coming around to the records. Yeah. But I also coined that as this. Check this out, and I wonder what you think. And that's sometimes people go like, oh, the new record isn't as good, and I'll go, I bring to the table, it might not sound and feel as good because you don't have memories with it yet, like memories, and like when you hear Devil's Night Out from the Bosstones, you remember going to the beach with Tanya, hanging out in Neil's car, and later down the road, you're not doing those fun things. So maybe the band's not doing anything wrong. Maybe you're not celebrating it the same way. You know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? Like, so
Yeah.
it's funny.
Well, and I think for me, because I'm coming into these bands later, I don't have like a preconceived notion of what kind of music they should be putting out. You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
that's a good point too.
So like you take a band like
Yeah,
Goldfinger. I'm not going to Goldfinger. The only song I really knew of Goldfinger before I started listening to ska again, around the time of Pick It Up, was Superman.
Yeah.
So then I start listening to them, and the only albums of Goldfingers that I own are like their 3 most recent albums.
Yeah.
Which a lot of older fans are like, oh, I don't really like that because it's not
John
like
kills
the old stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm like, these are great albums.
Kills. Yeah. And I came around with that. Like I'm a huge Beastie Boys fan because that was injected in my veins at 4th grade. And you never saw a comeback when you saw Check Your Head come back. The young guys come back after a couple years, and they're in the same place you are. It's crazy. And so you spoke about genres at the head of this, like hang, and Beastie Boys taught us that. Like Beastie Boys taught us, don't just play one genre. Do punk, do jam, do reggae. Like be you, I don't want to say institution, but lack of a better word at the moment. Be you. Just be you. You don't, and that's the thing about branding that I don't like. Which I like about lifestyle. Like lifestyle says this is who I am. I listen to all this. Branding is it's a direct. It's like it's a different kind of way the water flows. And so BC Boys definitely taught us that if you want to enjoy yourselves for a long period of time, play a lot of music.
And to talk a little bit about what you just said too, as a librarian, I struggle sometimes with the way we categorize
holy
things.
Crap! What if you
I get
just
frustrated
read
by
fiction?
it.
You'd be a bad librarian. You know what I mean?
Well, and even just like, okay, this book is science fiction, but it's also an adventure, but it's also a romance, but there's also some horror elements, and we see that with movies and stuff like that too. And that's where I would go a lot of times with music. And you talk about the Beastie Boys specifically, I don't know anybody that's into punk that is like the Beastie Boys suck. And I also don't know many people that are into hip hop that are like the Beastie Boys suck. And I remember being a young punk in high school and being like, hip hop is the worst. I hate hip hop, but I still loved the Beastie Boys. So
I love this. I love the whole librarian thing too, though. It's like because the movie High Fidelity. Yeah, of course. Or you take any record shop. Like, what I love about you being a librarian is you're a record shop, but it's with books. And it's the same thing with the different categories. And I love your dissection of, the different genres in a book when comparing it to music. And I think that's the first time I've ever heard that. And that's really awesome. That's great.
And the best part about it, I think, is when you have a conversation about it. Like if you're at a record store and you pick up an album you didn't come in to find, or a band you didn't already know, it's because the person in the record store talked to you about it or played it for you, and they made you fall in love with it because they were in love with it. And that's the same way with books, I think too.
Hell yeah. And how many books? Oh my God, you're so right. And how many books that, like I was saying, you have to get through chapter 1 or 2 or 3 to really figure it out. And how many albums have someone said you have to get through track 1, 2, or 3 to, you know what I mean? Like, I feel you. I feel, and it's so true. Yeah. I've read books. I'm going to come back. I've read books. I don't mean to say it like audaciously, but like I've read books as a favor for someone because they bought it for me. You know what I mean? And who the fuck am I to know if it's good or not? Until I'm the kind of guy. It's like I finish every book I start. Like I don't bail out of the book. That's I don't that's not who I am. And so I'll finish the record. I'll finish the point of the person. You know what I mean? And I'm a reiterator, and I just love your comparison of books and records.
Well, and I do want to come back to books, but I want to spend just one more minute here on the good old American Saturday night, and I don't want to take too much of your time because we've already gone almost like basically an hour. But the good old American Saturday night. Tell me a little bit about the release and any touring plans and release plans that you can share about the album.
I think our new video comes out this month. I mean, I know that. And then the record comes out the next month, and then we will hit the road in, I think, I don't know what I'm supposed to say or not, but we're about to hit the road. We're about to hit the road.
Okay.
So the next video is going to come out, and I can tell you what it is for fun. It's called Scatterbrain, and the song is about just all of us going through life with, those old like bubbles, like of course with comics, but not just the dialogue bubble, but the thought bubble. That like with certain comics, there's emotion bubbles. There's a lot of different. The animators have dialogue bubbles, thought bubbles, and emotion bubbles, right? And it's about like having the emotion bubble through the song, Scatterbrain, and so that's gonna come out this month. What's really fun about it being Wednesday today, us talking, is that Kevin, the guy who's animating this video, said a clip is going to come this week, and it's Wednesday, so like it's got to come tonight or tomorrow, right? He's not going to, you know what I mean? So I'm excited to see it for the first time, either tonight or tomorrow. And what was the other thing? I forget. Oh, yeah, and good old American Saturday night. The record is going to come out in June.
And I'm very excited for it. You've got some vinyl pressings that are available out there to pick up. I'm a vinyl collector.
I chose all those colors with our buddy Yosef, who's been with us, and yeah, I have my fingers in all that stuff. So we worked really hard to make sure that the artwork was beautiful, and it was reminiscent of our past record, Flute and Stroll. So like proper Iron Maiden style. We're going to that location, like. The location, it's like if you like our record Flute and Stroll and you're in that album cover, if you just turn to the right or to the left, that's what we hope you understand, that that's where this album cover is coming from. It's in that world.
Love that.
Yeah.
So I want to talk books with you. One thing I always do on my podcast is talk books for a couple minutes here at the end of the podcast. And one, we can approach this two ways with you, because not only are you a reader, but you're a writer. So can you talk to me a little bit about your writing?
Well, I mean, it's funny that like I know people hear it all the time, but Big D was in a band way before smartphones were invented, and so all you had to do in the van was either read or talk to someone or listen to your headphones. You know what I mean? Like there wasn't any smartphones, and so Big D was really playing in a massive amount of shows, like 250 a year. And I just started, I just read all the time. That was my smartphone. And so then I started writing books. I just love Stephen Crane, and I love Emily Dickinson, and I love a lot of authors, and Charles Bukowski. And, I just like that movie, The Matrix, when they load themselves up with Kung Fu. I loaded myself up with poetry and how to write. I read books, and I used to, the old, my good friend Steve, who works still at Harvard, I used to go to Harvard Law School where he works, and I would steal their printer, and I would print out literally endless amount of pages so I could read on tour. And so I just would pillage Harvard and get my, go to Staples and find them and just read and read and read and read and just learn to read and just try to, I could, because sometimes you could, so the web was there, so you could print out books, but I couldn't afford the books, but I could afford to print them out at Harvard. And so then I would just kind of read them and read them and read them. And then I started working with a poet from Cambridge called Peter Payak, and I did 4 poetry books, and then I did my first novel, Kringle, and I have a new book coming out I'm working with Will, my friend Will, which I can't tell you about because it's so good. I know it sounds like a pitch, but it's so good. I don't want to talk about how we're doing this book because it's going to be a new way to do books.
Sure.
And I really think like people who are artists will really like how we're going to do that. And so that's going to be coming out in 2027. If we can, it's just, and it's so good. So yeah. And I just want to remind everybody, I was told I was dyslexic, but I put out 4 poetry books and they're all proper. And one kind of novel poetry book, 1 novel, and I have a kick-ass book coming out. So if anybody's out there who wants to write, who's been told that they can't, you can.
I love that you said that. I was an English teacher for 11 years before I became a librarian, and obviously still working in schools. I absolutely believe that 100%. And what would you say as an author? What would you say to somebody who writes well, but tends to be hypercritical of the work and then never creates anything really because of that?
Okay. Well, everyone's hypercritical of their work, so you have to just realize, not you personally, but the question. One has to realize, that's just a normal human emotion. So they have to just kind of like grapple that. You know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? Everybody has nightmares. You know what I mean? So it's like, but the one thing I will say onto that, other than that's my basic. It's hard for everybody, get that drill sergeant in your head. And, and one thing that can help with that is set it up for yourself easier. So it's like, like maybe you're not going to write that day, but you kind of like set up things for yourself. Like you set it up, like, make it comfortable for yourself. Like I was saying with the Dolly stuff, but wait, can you repeat the question? Cause I lost. Can you repeat it again?
Sure. No, I was just, the question was like, what would you say to someone who is actually a talented writer, and has been told by others
I went on this
writer.
ledge, but I did. Okay. It's very important. And this for me, I feel this is very, to not put down your old self. Like I'm going with Boston Allston artists, and it's like they'll do this thing where, and of course it's probably similar all over the world, where they go like, I was putting out this old EP, and I'm not really feeling it. Like I don't really like that stuff anymore. But you know what I'm doing now? What I'm doing now is like, you shouldn't put down your old stuff. I mean, like, you have to champion yourself. If you're not championing yourself, like, holy crap, what you say rather than is, I'm not really, like, that stuff was like your old demo. Yeah, that stuff was stupid. You go, I learned a lot from that stuff. I learned a lot. You have to talk about your old material positively. You got to just get out of the doldrum of the negative talk. Like, we all learn, like, because I'm from New England, I'm going to take it to the basics. Ready? You take a chainsaw out. Somebody gave you a chainsaw. Hopefully it was your dad. You never dealt with a chainsaw or something. And you take it out, and you're like, it's not just gas. It's a mix of oil and gas. I didn't know that. I put gas in it, and somebody who's been there before you goes, no, you need to mix it with oil. And then you go, okay. But you don't go through interviews going like, I was such a piece of shit that I didn't know that you were supposed to put oil in the gas, and I am just humiliated with the fact that I didn't know. You just didn't know that. You're like, but you're still building the fact that you know how to, like, chop up a tree that fell down. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you're not. Artists just put themselves down just so hard, and they have no drill sergeant. It's crazy, and that's why Amy Winehouse died. She didn't have a champion. She was a beautiful artist who didn't have champions around her. And you got to watch that shit. You gotta watch that shit.
Well, one of the last questions I always ask, and this will be pretty much my last question for you, is is just what are a couple of books that you would recommend that you love? They can be a book that was your favorite as a kid, or a book you're reading right now. Just something that you think people should read.
I'll do two. If you're in a band, then you should read Ernest Shackleton's book. It's on him. He didn't write it. Endurance. Let me start that over. I mean, you can keep this. I'm just saying. The book is called Endurance, and it's about Ernest Shackleton. It's not by him. And it's the accounts of the fact that 1 million years ago, I just don't have the brain to remember the exact date, they took this boat, and they got stuck in the Arctic. And they were there for like over 300 plus days. And there was only one stowaway. And Ernest Shackleton, who got all of those men back home alive. So when you think about things that are going on today, Ernest Shackleton convinced 300 plus men to go to the Arctic 1 million years ago with one stowaway and got them home alive. So when you hear about all these things that people can't do, just realize that happened. And the stowaway was somebody who was very humorous, and I love comics, but I don't partake. I can't paint, and I'm not like a comedic. I like music, so I understand I'm in that paint, but I'm not in some other people's paint. And so I understand how much the power of a comic. And so the stowaway, Ernest Shackleton says, was one of the most greatest, other than being the captain himself, was so important because he made sure everyone was okay. And they had this thing where they were like, no man should walk too far away. Walk too far away. Remember, they're just in the Arctic. By himself with his dreadful thoughts, going, I miss my partner. I miss my loved ones. I miss home. Because you needed the other people to go, it's okay, we're here. We're going to get there. You need to be with us. And you need to somehow accept our energy. And through the comic, the comedian, that usually helps. And he got them all home. And that's how I look at touring. And that's how I look at being in a band. And that's how I look at being an artist in New England, where they usually look at you as a failure for being an artist, you know? And so I just want people to read that book. Yeah.
Okay.
Endurance.
I looked it up, and it says Endurance: Shackleton's Incredible Voyage by Alfred Lansing.
And I'll never remember Alfred's name. And the other book, I have 2 books. You said 3, right? I would do the Beastie Boys book. You know, the Beastie Boys book. I mean, it's right there. I have it right there, but I forget what it's called. But I think it's called the Beastie Boys book. It's called the Beastie Boys book. Thank you, guys. And then lastly, I would say consider poetry. If you're listening to this podcast, consider Charles Bukowski, and it's usually a nice walk into poetry. And what he usually does, and I should not speak for him, is he does this lovely thing that's going on right now in our world. And I'm going to do it with yada yadas. He'll be like, yada yada, everyone's being murdered in this country, and yada yada, everyone. Yada yada means what he's writing. I'm not, So
yeah.
So we all watch all the things that are happening, and we all don't do anything, and we all this, and we see this, and we see that, and we feel this, and we feel this, and we feel this, and we feel this, and you're going through the poem, and he's listing things, and you're really going through this poem, going, I don't give a crap about this. You know what I mean? Like, you're not. But what he does is he hits you at the end, and it's so important for you to take the time to watch the wick get sizzled, just so you can get to the boom. And then he ends and he goes, and then we all wonder why we all feel lost every night and every morning. But you have to give a shit to give a shit. You have to put yours in for the boom to happen. And so try Charles Bukowski or Stephen Crane or Emily. Emily's a little different, but yeah.
I love it, man. And I've really enjoyed getting to chat with you today. It's been a really, really fun time. I hope to catch you guys the next time you're here in Dallas, and I can't wait for the album to come out.
Thank you so much. Thanks for taking my time, taking our thing. Thank you very much for taking the time with me.
For sure.